Hello there, Dancho here. This is the second video in my new series, where I will be discussing the cut and added content in Mappa's adaptation of Attack on Titan, the final season. If you missed the video I made on the first episode,
Now what the hell are you waiting for?
go watch the video
right now.
Just like with the first episode, the second covers roughly around 2 chapters of content, but there are a lot more small changes that do add up. The first change is at the start of the episode, when the general is speaking about the outcome of the operation from episode 1. There is a slight difference in the manga during this scene, because he opens the discussion by stating that the only reason they were successful was because Reiner saved Zeke's ass. This may not seem important, but chotto matte. I shall elaborate later in the video when this becomes relevant. There was also an extra line after Zeke declared he should be the one to bring an end to the exploits of his father, Grisha Jaeger. He speaks about how Zeke sold out his own parents to prove his loyalty, and they will keep in mind Zeke's suggestion. The way Mappa ended this scene with Zeke's line was better, I feel, for focusing more on Zeke's resolve. The way it was portrayed in the anime made me think that this man is the
Monkey Man.
The next change takes place during Zeke's sexy smoke break. In the manga, however, during their discussion, Colt mentions that anyone who has been given Zeke's spinal fluid is able to turn into a Titan when he roars. They also listen to his commands and move at night as long as the moon is out. We saw him use some of these abilities in previous seasons as well as in the previous episode. I'm so glad that Mappa kept the scene about Zeke talking about how he wipes his... But the scene was missing one small piece. Aside from being interested in alien asses, it shows a bit more of Magath as a character here, because he told Zeke he did a good job in the meeting and that he was watching him for over 20 years. Despite being a superior officer and a Marleyan, Magath seems different from the rest and at least values Zeke as a comrade. A major change, however, is when Magath asks Zeke what he makes of the 32 ships disappearing when they went to Paradi. In the manga, Zeke mentions that the Founding Titan, Colossal Titan, Female Titan, and Attack Titan are all in the hands of Paradi. Like in the anime, he mentions that Eren has both the Attack and Founding Titans. However, in the manga, he also states that the status of the Colossal and Female are unknown. Some very important information he brought up as well was that if either of those Titan users died, then babies with their powers should have been born. Pretty much what this means is that if Armin never ate Bertholdt, but Bertholdt still died somehow, an Eldian baby would be born with the Colossal Titan's power. He then continues his discussion with Colt and Magath, speaking about why he believes it's a possibility that 4 Titans are being used on Paradi. He talks about the soldiers of the Survey Corps as flying freaks with strange equipment designed to kill Titans, saying that he failed because he underestimated those weapons. When remembering the Ackermans, in the anime Mappa included some shots of Wit Studios animation here, but in the manga he referred to them as byproducts of Titan science, and that he never wanted to meet them again.
Oi.
The Jaw Titan user, Porco, in the manga seemed a bit harsher towards Reiner, mainly because of this additional bit of dialogue. We even get a flashback shot of Porco's brother, Marcel, saving Reiner when they were kids. We will learn more about Marcel later, but for now, all you need to know is that he was the previous user of the Jaw Titan, before being eaten by Ymir, the random Titan that Porco was referring to. When Porco accused Reiner of imitating Marcel, we see a flashback in the manga of the scouts from Season 1, and Reiner even replies to Porco, instead of staying silent, saying he was right about everything. During the harbor scene, the beautiful scenery and music almost made me forget that Reiner was an enemy to Eren, and our beloved cast of characters back on Paradi. He too had people like Falco and Gabby back home that he cared about, and is keeping his cool in front of them despite what is going on in his head. But then he proceeds to threaten to report Falco and have him and his family turned into Titans. Jokes aside, I would like to believe that Reiner only threatened Falco here to keep him safe and to be aware of what he was saying, because anyone could be listening. Mappa kept the Gabby jump kick, which was awesome, but it does seem like Zofia and Udo disappeared somehow. The anime did have quite a lot more of a returning home sort of feeling, with the music and new scenes with Peak and Porco talking to Falco and Gabby. While those scenes were not in the manga, we do get to see Falco's thoughts on Reiner. If you remember at the beginning of the video, I talked about how that general brought up how Reiner selfishly saved Zeke. This connects to what Falco thinks about in this panel when wondering if he should trust Reiner. We saw that Reiner proved allegiance to Marley after risking his life battle after battle, showing more loyalty to Marley than any other warrior, despite failing his mission on Parody Island. This is why he hasn't had the armored titan taken away from him. He then proceeds to think about why Reiner would want him to save Gabi. In the anime we get Porco and Peak telling the kids to take it easy pretty much, but in the manga there is a panel of Gabi noticing Falco deep in thought, and confronts him about it. Fortunately for Falco, Gabi is dense as fuck. Random soldiers nearby tease them, causing Falco to blush. Speaking of Gabi, when she sees her parents, they are both happy but don't get much dialogue. The manga gives an entire panel of them talking about being proud of her. The next change was a very minor one, and it was that the pants of this injured soldier were a different color. But it was just a random character, so it wasn't very important at all. After Reiner's mom talks about how she wishes the Eldians on Parody were wiped out, in the manga Gabi says that the warriors will protect Eldians from those island devils. Looking at this, you can see the honesty in her eyes, because to her she genuinely believes that the people on Parody are truly evil. She lived her life believing that, and fighting against them to protect her loved ones, just like Reiner. Obviously in Reiner's case, he is conflicted after meeting these devils himself. In the anime where Reiner talks about his experience and the people he met on Parody, I believe that the scene was the most powerful one in the episode. In the manga, during the scene Reiner also had flashbacks shown of the potato girl, which was Sasha of course, as well as the idiot who forgot why he went to the bathroom, Connie. An insincere jerk who only thought about himself, John. An uptight oaf who only cared about what others thought, Marco. A single-minded fool who charged ahead, Eren. And the chumps who followed behind him, Mikasa, Armin, and the rest of the scouts. He considered them all sorts of people, rather than just devils, which is what Gabi and the rest of the family thought them as. When Reiner says, alongside those different people stood us, we even see him with Bertolt and Annie. The window opening suddenly and the shocked expressions of the others were so well done in the anime here, you could feel the tension in the room. Okay, so what should happen next is a huge chunk of content, and it entails a flashback about Reiner's past. Now I don't know if this will be adapted, but since it is a considerably large amount of content, I don't want to spoil it for the anime onlys. Instead, if it's not adapted in next week's episode, I will talk about it in my next video. Anyways, the anime continues with Reiner and Gabi walking together. The anime left out the Eldians being nice to the two of them, as well as a scene with the security guards asking them questions about how their battle went. The security guards noticing Gabi was quiet is something we'd see with Hannes and the garrison members when Eren, Mikasa, and Armin were kids. It would help to add to these sort of parallels, but the anime is doing a great job of that, despite leaving out a few scenes like this. What I felt was really important, however, was when Gabi said that if she inherits the armored titan, then Reiner would live on inside her. And that maybe then she will understand what is on his mind. She further encourages him by saying they can work together to clear a path for Eldia. The anime added a scene of someone jumping out of a window during the night. I'm not sure why though. We find out later that it was a soldier, but I felt it was kind of random to be completely honest. I think this dialogue from Gabi would have done a lot more for her character and connection with Reiner. As Gabi and Reiner reach the end of their walk, we get to see Falco and the other cadets training. As Gabi approaches them and Reiner heads towards his meeting, Falco tells her that he will inherit the Armored Titan, causing her to literally clash heads with him, and challenge him to try it. This scene was important to show the competitiveness between the two warrior candidates. Also, since it followed up right after hearing Gabi's conversation with Reiner, it makes the scene a lot more impactful, given how we have seen a bit into the minds of both Gabi and Falco at this point, and what drives them to want to be number one. The meeting starts off in the anime with Porco joining the others for the meeting. In the manga, we see Porco actually enter the building and walk up the stairs, only to be surprised by Peak walking on all fours. You've probably seen people talking about this online, about how it is a shame this wasn't included, and I agree with them. It was probably one of her most memorable scenes, and it serves as a great intro to Peak's character. Aside from lying on chairs like some kind of cat, the scene serves as a reminder that this is the Cart Titan. She is supposed to be this chill yet eccentric sort of character because of the amount of time she spends in Titan form, unlike the other Titan shifters. She has said that she has been in her Titan form for a whole 2 months without changing back at one point in time, which is pretty ridiculous. Moving on to the meeting, Zeke has a lot more dialogue in the manga here, starting by speaking about how the world hates Eldians even more due to their Titan power, leading them to call for the extermination of Eldians. He talks about how Eldians are losing their tactical value, just as he did in the anime, then proceeds to expand on how it is a threat to their existence by mentioning that Marley's position of power is weakening, and it will expose Eldians to the rest of the world, leaving their survival uncertain. The world already says it's meaningless to speak of the human rights of Eldians, most likely meaning they will all
Die!
In the manga, Colt asks for a solution, to which Zeke replies about how they must seize the founding Titan and resources from Parity as soon as possible. Peak intervenes and says that even if their plan succeeds, she doesn't think it'll be enough to lessen the world's hatred of Eldians. Zeke agrees and continues to discuss the Tiber family. During this part in the anime, Colt and Peak have no lines, but rather Zeke breezed through these topics on his own. This was obviously to save time, but we missed them having a Sasuga Peak meme twice instead of once. I am glad that Mappa included it though, for our use. Zeke mentioned how the Tiber family were the first family of aristocrats to oppose King Fritz in the Great Titan War, which took place a century ago, and that they followed a policy of non-interference in both politics and war. Despite this, they are taking action given the fears of the future of Marley and Eldia. This leads to Peak saying what she said in the anime, and Zeke's
さすがピークちゃんだ
Porco seemed to have a bit more of a negative view of the Tiber family in the manga, saying that they have never done their duty to protect the country, and that they've lived carefree lives in big mansions while the rest of the Eldians were forced into internment zones.
I hate them!
He more or less said the same thing in the anime, but just as with the scene earlier with Reiner, Porco seems to hold a lot more resentment in his speech in the manga. Lastly, as the episode ends, Reiner is seen thinking about how he must go back to Parity Island.
Oh shit, here we go again.
In the manga, we learn that this is because before a major operation begins, there is always a checkup, just like they did back then. These words while he watches Falco and Gabby definitely mean he is remembering his days as a cadet, training to become a warrior. Hence why the next episode, as shown in the preview, will be about Reiner's flashbacks. That's pretty much it for episode 2, but remember I will be discussing those flashbacks from earlier in next week's video if they aren't shown in the episode 3 of the anime. Remember to subscribe to stay tuned for more videos, and leave a comment down below on what you think about the final season so far. I should be starting my stream for the Attack on Titan 2 Final Battle game on my Twitch this week, so follow me there for that. And as always, keep moving forward.